Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting of the Parking Commission to order pursuant to revised Missouri State Statute 82487. Ms. Ali, can you please take the roll?
Commissioner Williams?
Present.
Commissioner Green?
Latanya Kenner, proxy for Darlene Green.
Thank you. Commissioner Freeman?
Present.
Commissioner Tyus? Chairman Lane?
Present. Okay, so we'll get started with the first item. The first item is the approval of the March 24th, 2022 meeting minutes. So I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded. Ms. Connie, can you take the roll, please?
Commissioner Williams?
Aye.
Roxy Kenner?
Aye.
Commissioner Freeman?
Aye.
Commissioner Tyus? Chairman Lane?
Yes. One thing I'll say, and I believe this was a Board of Aldermen rule change, which I don't know the jurisdiction in our parking commission, but I know, Ms. Kenner, you're not able to be on camera, but I think that does preclude you from voting. But so I just want to make sure, unless you hop on camera to vote, but I know you can't, which is okay. And I know you're in the meeting, but I think it doesn't allow you to vote. I think you have to be on camera to vote.
Aye.
Thank you. And I think that's the only thing we'll be voting on today. So that'll be fine. Thank you, Ms. Kenner. All right, so the next thing and the biggest part of our time today is the presentation of our fiscal year 23 budget. So I will turn it over to our CFO, Michelle Smart, to get us started with that presentation. And Michelle, you should have sharing privileges. If you don't, we'll fix that.
Okay. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I believe you all have gotten the documents. And so what I plan on doing is just putting the ones that I'm talking to up on the screen, and hopefully you have your own personal document that you can follow along with as well. So we always begin our budget review with revenue. Hopefully everyone can see that okay. This for myself here. Okay, so wanted to talk our revenue budget. Overall, down here at the bottom, we are going to talk about how our budget compares to last year's budget, as well as how things are comparing to our fiscal 22 projections. And so at this time, we see that our budget is $3.2 million favorable to our fiscal 22 projections, and is 2.1 million favorable to our fiscal 22 budget. Want to talk a little bit about the fact that we've had some challenges still with being in COVID. As everybody knows, COVID is definitely not over, but we are seeing some consistent trending upward in most of our areas. We are still trying to get back to those pre-COVID levels, which is fiscal 19's year. Have not quite gotten to that point yet, but we are going to talk about some strategies and different plans that we have to continue to move us forward. So let's look a little bit at the categories, in particular in the revenue. First of all, our meters and tickets. Our meters and tickets have continued to be a challenge for us, but we are seeing consistent trending upward from fiscal 21's actual to fiscal 22's projection to fiscal 23's budget. But we have yet to meet. We will still not be able to meet where we had anticipated, hopefully to get for fiscal 22's budget. And of course, we are still short as fiscal 19 as our base year, pre-COVID year. But let's talk about that. In the meters, we're seeing a 35% increase from fiscal 21's actual to fiscal 22's projection. And we're seeing a 17% increase from fiscal 23's budget compared to fiscal 22's projection. For the ticket side, we're seeing a 19% increase from fiscal 21's actual to fiscal 22's projection. And we're seeing a 17% increase from fiscal 22 projection to fiscal 23 budget. Give a little bit of color on that. We're budgeting ourselves to see a little bit of like a 4% increase over fiscal 22's levels, projected levels, in the peak months associated with summer activity, different types of things that are going on in the areas, event type situations, and 2% in the off-peak months. We're also looking to implement some other technologies along with such as LPR type ticketing opportunities, as well as looking at some increased efforts on our collections on our tickets. Just to kind of talk a little bit in the ticket area, we are seeing a slight decrease in our collections of our tickets, about 20% as we compare it to fiscal 19, which again is our pre-COVID year. But we are going to be looking at various strategies to get that percentage back up. Any questions on any of that? If not, I will go into the garage revenues. I'd like to allow our parking administrator, Lenny Freeman, to give some information on what our strategies are as it relates to fiscal 23's budget. Just to kind of give you a little preface, we are planning on increasing our rates in our three major areas of revenue within our garages, which are event revenue, daily transient revenue, and monthly revenue. And what I'd like Lenny Freeman to do before I talk about this in summation is to give you all some information about how we came to those decisions and what that means in each one of our facilities. So Lenny, if you'd like to take over the screen and talk through that, I would appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Let's see if I can share. Oh, Michelle, can you unshare your screen so I can put my, okay, there we go. Can everybody see that?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Okay, so this is the hourly. Okay. So for hourly rates through our garages and our lots, we haven't raised our rates since July of 2019. So basically in black is our current fee structure, and in red will be our new fee structure. So in the Keel Garage, right now, we're charging $1 an hour with each additional hour with the max rate, a daily rate of $10 with an early bird of 5, and you have to be in before 9 and out before 5. And a lost ticket is $10. We'll change that to $2 an hour for the first hour, $2 each additional with a daily max rate of 20. Early bird would be 7 and a lost ticket would go to 20. City Hall would remain the same, and Williams Lot, we don't do any daily or transient parking. 7th and Pine, $3 the first hour with 3 additional hours, daily max rate of $12 and no early bird special with a lost ticket fee of $25. It would go up to $4 for the first hour and $4 each additional hour with a max rate, daily rate of $30. And again, no early bird. Lost ticket fee of $30. Justice, we would do, it's $3 the first hour, $2 each additional, $24 max with an early bird of 7 and a lost ticket fee of $30. It would go up to $4 for the first hour. It would remain $2 each additional hour with a max rate of 30, a $10 early bird, and a lost ticket would remain the same of $30, excuse me. Argyle Garage, $2 for the first 2 hours with $3 for every 2 hours after the first 2-hour mark. So daily max rate of 12, early bird is 7 with a lost ticket fee of 20. That would change to $3 for the first 2 hours and $4 for every 2 hours after the first 2 hours. Max rate would go up to $15 with a lost ticket fee of 30. And then 9 North is $2 for every first 2 hours and $3 for every 2 hours after the first initial 2. Daily max rate is 12 with an early bird of 7 and a lost ticket fee of 20. And that would also go up to $3 for the first 2 hours with $4 for every 2 hours after the initial first 2 hours. Your daily max rate would go to $15 an hour with an early bird special of $10 and a lost ticket fee of $30. Now at 9 North, we have something called the Night Owl, which is if you park from 5 until midnight, it's a $5 flat fee. It was $3, but we're going to mark it up to $5. Couples Garage, excuse me, it's $2 for the first hour, $2 for each additional with an $18 max rate, $5 early bird, and a $20 lost ticket. And that would change to $3 for the first hour, $3 each additional with a $25 max fee. Early bird special of $8 with a lost ticket fee of $30. And these are some of the comparable prices from other garages downtown and the Central West End. Any questions? Let's see. This would be the garages we're going to raise rates for monthly parking. And we haven't raised these rates since July of 2015. Okay, so 7th and Pine Garage which is a 24-hour garage. If you want a regular rate, it's $115 a month. If you want a reserve parking rate, it's $130 a month, which would then go up to, for regular rates, $125. And then the 24 hours would go to $140. Justice Garage, it is $100 for a regular parking spot. This is also 24 hours, and $130 for a reserve spot. And that would also go to, for a regular spot, it would go up to $120 and $150 for a reserve spot. And we do payroll deductions in this garage. Or no, we don't. I'm sorry, my bad. So Abrams would stay the same. Argyle Garage, it is $65 if you are a 6 to 6 parker for regular parking, and if you are 25 or 24 hours parker, 7 days a week, it's $85, and that would change to $85 for a 6 to 6 parker and $105 for a 24-hour parker. And it would be the same for
I think Lenny froze. A minute to come back.
Treasurer Lane,
Yeah.
while you're doing that, can I ask Michelle Smart a question?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, Michelle, based on the increased rates in the garages, which garages are going to affect our city employees?
None of them.
Okay,
We are not raising rates on any employees of the city.
thank you.
You're welcome.
And that was intentionally done, Ms. Kenner. A great question.
It's very good news.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you, Lenny.
Can you see me?
Yep, we can see you too.
Okay.
I can pull up and share if you're not. I can pull up and share the document if you're not able to.
Okay. Yeah, I won't be able to. I don't have yeah, I don't have it on my cell phone. So
I'll pull it up.
where did I leave off?
You were right at the end of the monthly.
Monthly, okay. Do you remember what garage I was at on monthly?
The last one, that was
The last one, okay. So
Nine
couples garage.
So was it couples?
yes.
Okay. Couples garage is $80 monthly rate. And we're gonna raise it up to $100 for a monthly rate. As far as event parking, it's gonna be straight $20 across the board. We used to charge less than some of the other garages, but we decided that just to make it a flat $20 fee. That's it.
Thank you, Lenny. So I'd like to, based on the information that Lenny just shared, wanted to give some, I guess, summary data on what those changes mean in terms of revenue dollars. So in the daily revenue, that those increases would contribute about $346,000 in additional revenue. And so our daily revenue budget to budget will go up $489,000, of which 346 of that is associated with that increase. And we are projecting favorably against our current fiscal year budget for projected 22 by 325,000. So we're continuing to move upward. As it relates to the monthly revenue, the increases that Lenny identified, we are projecting that out for fiscal 23 to be about $364,000. The total favorability for monthly revenue budget to budget is 478,000. So 364, that 478 is attributable to that increase. And again, we are projecting favorably for fiscal 22 against fiscal 22's budget of about 447,000 in that category. As far as the event revenue is concerned, Justice is really the major garage that would take advantage of a rate increase going up to a flat $20. We have traditionally charged $10 for most of those events. So moving Justice up to be consistent and being $20 across the board would result in about $350,000 increase in revenue. Thankfully, the Enterprise Center has also just recently added more events to the pool, hoping that all of those will be able to be completed and enjoyed by everyone. And that will, with those additional increases of about 335,000 that weren't there initially when we first put our budget together, that is helping us to be able to say that we will experience a $1.6 million favorability against fiscal 22's budget for fiscal 23. And we have been doing above budget so far in events for fiscal 22's projection against fiscal 22's budget of about 1.2 million. The other area in revenue that I just wanted to touch on quickly, we are planning on implementing a permit parking program starting out in 5 of the districts for fiscal 23, which would equate to about 1,000 permits that we would take over under our office, and with an anticipated $30 per permit charge. So that would include $30,000 of revenue starting out with the intention of possibly rolling this out across the city. It will involve us having to purchase additional equipment in our ticketing type system for that, and to provide an online option for people who are interested in permits. And you'll see that when we get to the capital side, that the equipment is about $26,000. But that equipment has dual capability of being able to also allow us to implement more online options for our monthly parkers. So we saw that as a win-win situation across the board. That is basically it for revenue, unless anyone has any questions. If not, I can proceed to the expenditure budget.
Yep, go on ahead, Michelle.
Okay. So this is our expenditure budget for fiscal 23. And what we're showing here, again, looking at it as projected against fiscal 22's budget and budget 23 against budget 22. If you look at projected fiscal 22 against budget fiscal 22, we are favorable by $1.6 million. Moving forward from budget 23 to budget 22, we are projecting in the budget 525,000 of an increase in our budget for 23. And I can go through the categories that get us to that point. Of course, salaries are a large pool representing anywhere from 40 to 42% of our expenditure budget. I also had provided the salary analysis. I'm going to switch to that for a minute. And you all were provided with that spreadsheet as well. There you go. Okay. Our salaries, fiscal 22 projected against fiscal budget 2022. We're coming in quite favorably, about 855,000. A lot of that is basically due to open positions and making a conscious choice to leave open positions in anticipation of, again, trying to ramp ourselves up still from the effects of COVID. We have, of that $854,000, about $314,000 of that deal with our per performance employees. And we are reflecting 5 full-time FTEs in that number that remained open on average for the remainder of for this fiscal year, along with the benefits associated, bring up the additional, the other $540,000 to make up that $854,000 favorability. Budget to budget, we are anticipating adding 2 FTEs. And with that, we're also anticipating adding and having a salary increase for fiscal 23 of 4.5% for our employees. Want to make sure, in fiscal 21, of course, with everything that was going on, there was no salary increases for anyone across the board. In fiscal 22, we did a 2%. And this year, in light of the where we have been, it's been indicated that the city is moving in this direction, the city overall, of a 4.5. We are including that in our budget as well. So that $358,000 of unfavorability, 192,000, well, along with the benefits associated with that, it's $306,000 of that. And then we still have some favorability in some of our per performance positions against the 2 full-time FTEs that we're going to add. But net with all of that is an additional $63,000 to the budget. Does anybody have any questions on that piece of the salaries and benefits? If not, I'm going to switch back to the overall expenditure budget. And continue through the categories here. In the supply category, we are projecting favorability from fiscal 22 projected versus fiscal 22 budget of about $36,000. But here, budget to budget, we are showing $140,000 increase for fiscal 23's budget. The majority of that has to do with $38,000 here in computers. We are going to have to buy some additional scale equipment. Our IT department has indicated that for recovery purposes for our network, we need to make sure that we have that on board for next year. So that is what's driving that. Also in our fleet supplies, as everyone is experiencing the gas hike, we've started seeing that here in the current fiscal year, this 13,000 increase in this category. That's the gas prices associated with our fleet vehicles. And hopefully that will not continue on, but as a rule of thumb and moving forward from the trending that we're seeing currently, that is where we have put this in for fiscal 23 to come up with the 22,000 increase in that area. Also in the parking supplies, we are going to build up our spare parts inventory in fiscal 23. We have really been very conscious about making purchase decisions in this area for the past 2.5, 3 years. But we really do need to replenish some of those things next year. And so we've done an inventory of what needs to be handled, and we have included that in fiscal 23. In the equipment and improvements area, we are favorable fiscal 22 projected to fiscal 22 budget by 173,000. We're slightly unfavorable budget 23 to budget 22. One of the driving forces in that has to also deal with in the fleet assets and equipment area. We are contractually obligated to contribute 25% to any vehicle purchases for the ticketing and meter operations. We have consciously, again, made decisions not to purchase any of those vehicles within the last couple of years. We need to do some things in that area for fiscal 23. And so you will see we are planning for a couple of purchases in that area. But we've got some favorability to offset that here in the facility and ground assets that deals with our tenant improvements that are a part of our lease agreements and our property management system. So based on our leases, we will be slightly down from budget 22. We did not do a lot of those, our tenants did not opt to do a lot of that work for fiscal 22 either. So we budget what is obligated, but again, not all of that always comes to fruition as we have seen here in fiscal 22. But in fiscal 23, even with all the full budget lease obligations included in the budget, we still will be favorable by close to $16,000. In the contractual and other services area, we are favorable both projected budget 22 and budget 23 to budget 22. But there are some areas within this category I'd like to discuss. As far as the computers, repairs, and maintenance, as it related to what I talked about above in supplies and the scale equipment that is needed for our network recovery, there are services associated with that as well. And so this is the effect of those services associated with that equipment. And the office and computer services here, we're seeing a slight unfavorability here for 2022, but in 2023, this $8,200 is mainly related to the change in equipment associated with the ERP transition and implementing the Chronos system and getting rid of the Novatime system. There are fees, monthly fees and annual fees associated with that transition that are increasing costs over what Novatime had. So you see that $8,200 there. We are, again, showing some favorability in some other areas here, the health and safety. We are showing a favorability there because we are those two positions that we talked about earlier in salaries. Part of that is due to us looking to bring security in-house and not use an outside service. We are currently doing that at our Argyle garage and have seen a much better outcome and a much better secured area by doing that. And so we are planning on following suit in other garages by hiring 2 full-time people and a part-time person to handle those security needs within our garages. So you saw that did create an unfavorability in the salaries from budget to budget, but we will experience a favorability down here in health and safety of about $86,000. The travel budget here, it has been zero for quite some time. We have not done any traveling for at least 5 years. One of the discussions we have had as an executive team in the parking division is talking about the opportunities that exist in some of these seminars and conferences relating to the parking industry and how we could possibly be able to take advantage of some of the technology advances and the synergies involved in that if we were able to participate in those venues. So we have budgeted $10,000 here for the year fiscal 23. That would include the treasurer as well as executive staff members to be able to take advantage of some of those seminars, some of that training in anticipation of continuing to look at other opportunities to bring into our garages and our facilities, especially as it relates to us going into building the garage that's out on lot 177. Other things I wanted to point out here, our banking services are continuing to be favorable there. Yeah, of course, this is driven by transactions. As we continue to hopefully increase our transactions, this will not stay as it is because but then the flip side of that is increased transactions or increased revenues. So we will continue to monitor that. As far as professional services, I wanted to discuss this blip here of the $65,000 for projected 22 versus budget 22. We have recently finalized the sale of our spruce lot. And when that sale was finalized, there were fees associated with that sale that were not included in the budget for fiscal 22. And so there is that unfavorability there. Legal services for next year, we got $36,000 increase in legal services. That is in anticipation of dealing with all the legal aspects associated with lot 177, as well as the continued tracking of what needs to happen with the Wilson case. Down here, we have two accounts on our system that we track outsourcing type services related to our meters and our tickets. They're looked at in totality on the comptroller side, but these two together is a total of $275,000 of increase in cost. This deals with all our contractual obligations associated with meters, tickets, gateway fees, everything associated with the technology of taking the different credit cards and that we have at our multi-stations, as well as our individual meter spaces. To continue to have those communicate properly and maintain properly. Moving down here, this major project debt service, this is only LOFE, and as everyone knows, we fund the operating expenses of OFE. And the budget that was submitted for them this year was this $545,000. And so parking will submit funds for that, which is over where they were in fiscal 22 by $54,000. Does anybody have any questions on expenditures? If not, I can go over the capital budget. You all were also given that document. Hold on. I think I have too many things up. Hold on. Let's see. Where is my capital budget? Well, that's weird. I'm sorry. Give me 1 second. I don't know what happened to my capital budget. Let me try this. Okay, there we go. All right. Sorry about that. So this is the capital budget that you all were given. This is the budget that runs through our operating funds. This is not a part of our bond funds. As we have explained before, we have capital that run through our bond funds, and then there are other expenditures that run through as considered, could be capital or not capital, but it's larger in scope and it's not a part of the regular day-to-day operating activities. And so we continue to categorize these as either tenant improvements, software type expenditures, or meter and other type of equipment that would qualify in this category. We started out with a fiscal 22 budget of 1.367. So far, we are projecting spending a total of about $817,000 of that this year. We traditionally roll over the balance, which would be close to 550,000. And then we look to see what the needs are for the current year. We are anticipating doing some software upgrades on our meters. We're also anticipating some other type of equipment that does not qualify as spare part equipment, but other larger purchases such as compressors and things of that nature that would need to be included. We also always include extended warranties that we have on our meters. We have extended warranty with the Flowbird multi-station meters here that we include here. I talked earlier about the permit parking and needing to purchase subscription software to implement that. So you see that here as this $26,000 in this category. We also have an annual subscription on our ticket processing system that's always included here, as well as other software subscriptions that we have. Currently, we have a system, Seamless Docs, that provide opportunities for monthly parking agreements as well. We have been carrying the camera upgrades for our garages. This will be our third year of carrying those. Of course, because of COVID, we have not spent these funds, but it is still our intention to do upgrades on the security cameras on our garages. And so we continue to carry that forward. We also include couples garage in here because even though our other garages do have an ample repair and replacement fund as a part of the bond funds for certain other type of capital and non-capital expenditures. Couples is not fortunate to have that situation. And so we know that there are repairs that need to happen for couples on an annual basis based on a 10-year study that we're working against right now with Kimley Horn. So we continue to work against that goal and to make sure that we have funds ample enough to deal with those annual repair needs. We always include couples in here as tenant improvement type expenses. And so all of those types of plans for fiscal 23 would need us to have a balance of 1.6 million. Since we carried 550, we are adding 1.66 to get us to the 1.616. Does anybody have any questions on the capital?
Nope.
If not, that is the total budget presentation. I'd
Thank
be
you,
happy
Michelle.
to answer any questions.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Lenny. I'll open it up to the commissioners to see if there are any questions before we continue. All right. Hearing none, I know this is a lot of information. I want to make sure that commissioners have, or commission members have an opportunity to digest this. So we will schedule a follow-up meeting to take a vote and also entertain any additional questions that may come from this this body. So we will not be, and making sure that members who are not present are able to get the information as well. Okay, and Ms. Williams had to jump off. So we will not be taking a vote right now, but we will schedule a subsequent meeting to do so after those questions, if any, are received, and then we'll also make sure that publicly we address those questions, any questions that come in. But we want to give folks an opportunity to digest the information. So we'll move on to the next item, which is, well, garage rate increases. We already talked through that in the roll-up of the budget, so I'll skip that. And I believe we're skipping item 6 as well. Is that correct, Shirley?
Michelle can go ahead and present on the fund transfers,
Okay.
but we won't be taking a vote on that today.
Okay. Treasurer, you want me to go ahead and share my screen?
Yep, go on ahead.
All right, let me pull that up. Okay, let's see. Okay, this is the document that was sent to you all as well. What we do here, normally, just to kind of get the preface here, in the past, even though we've always had funds for each of these garages or centers, on the comptroller side, the only fund of ours that was held accountable for a budget line by line or GL account by GL account was our administrative fund, which is this one here that I have highlighted. But with the transition of the ERP system on March 1st, now all of the funds are held accountable account by account. They used to be held accountable in total budgeted funds. But now, like I said, it's account by account. So with that being said, going through the budget presentation that we just went through and some of the areas that are unfavorable from a projection standpoint, we need to move some of our budget monies around to account for those expenses, else we will not be able to submit invoices for payment, nor will we be able to book any journal entries to accounts that are over budget. So we have gone through and taken a look at all our funds and all our accounts. And like I said, you can, kind of you can see the justification for why these are needed based on the projections that we talked about for fiscal 22 and the expenditure budget. One thing that I wanted to bring everybody's attention in this area, and these areas in green, this is the capital budget that I just spoke to you about a few minutes ago. It's not a part of the operating budget. It's separate, but I just wanted to make sure that everyone knew that, you know, there needs to be some movement of funds within the capital fund as well that is not included in our normal operating budget that the other numbers would coincide with. And it's basically the concept of, you know, finding accounts that you know are favorable and you don't anticipate having any expenses to make that account go unfavorable. You can move those funds around within those monies around within those individual funds. The goal is to, again, come back to zero within each fund, because we're not adding monies, we're just moving monies around. Does anybody have any questions on this at all? That's all I really have for this area.
Awesome. Thank you, Michelle. I'll ask again to see if there are any questions on this. Again, we're not going to take a vote on this either right now. We're just going to make sure that commission members have an opportunity to digest it, follow up with any questions before we come back for our voting session, just knowing that this was a lot of information and a lot to digest.
Treasurer Lane, I do have one question,
Go
a
on ahead.
request of Michelle Smart. Michelle, could you add actual data from July 2021 to April 2022 in your next report?
2022. Yes, the actual financials.
For this fiscal year.
I know that I will definitely have it through March, depending on when we meet again. Might not have final April, but I would definitely have it through March.
Okay. Thanks.
Sure.
Thank you, Ms. Kenner. Any other questions? Okay. All right, hearing none, that is all the business that we have for today. So I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
So it's been properly moved and seconded. Ms. Connie, can you please take the roll?
Commissioner Williams, Commissioner Williams,
She had to hop off.
Roxy Kenner,
Aye.
Commissioner Freeman,
Aye.
Commissioner Tyson, Chairman Lane.
Aye. So we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone, and we'll send out the information about our next meeting.
Thank you. Have a good
Thank
day.
you.
All right, and thank you, Ms. Houston.